I'm Bree Johnson of Heart and Bones Yoga, and I've got 3 really simple tips for you to improve your ankle mobility. And you want to have good ankle mobility because your ankles are that joint that helps to move your feet and to move the parts of you above the feet as well. So if you like to do any sort of squats, whether that's a loaded squat with weightlifting or a yoga squat or any sort of functional everyday movement, ankle mobility is so important. So the 3 exercises that we're going to look at today are going to improve the mobility of not just your ankle, but also your feet and your calves. What you'll need are a little bouncy rubber ball, a tennis ball works as well, and you also will need a yoga block, blanket, pillow, anything that's going to help you change the angle of your ankle, which we'll see here in a moment. So let's get right into this. Let's do our first stretch. And what that is going to be is just simply standing your foot on that ball. Now, this is really simple, something that you can do at any point during the day. It's nice to have these little balls rolling around the house. Sometimes it's nice to have it while you're washing dishes and other things like that. So all you're going to do is just place your foot right on the top of that ball and allow your body weight to be on that ball as much as it feels comfortable for you. Some of us are going to find that it's really tender when we put this pressure of the ball. So you determine, do I want to put all my body weight down? Maybe I want to have a little bit less weight. Your choice. Now, let your toes relax over that ball. And then you start to roll it down to another spot. So I've got the ball right around the middle of my foot now, and I'm pressing down and just letting your foot, allowing your foot to drape around that ball. Now we're going to go through this. We're not going to do both feet because this is more of a quick tips for you then to be able to take into your everyday life. So the work here, the first step is stepping on the ball, using the ball to roll out the bottom of your foot, help to improve the mobility of all those joints and muscles that you have in your feet. So what you would do is just set a step by step for a moment, a minute or so per spot. Just keep rolling that ball into different angles and areas on your foot. Okay, then you would do that and then switch to the other foot. But now let's get into the next exercise. And so what I've got here is a yoga block, and what I'm going to do is place the front of my foot, right, the metatarsals, those mounds underneath the toes, right on top of that block, and then my heel and the rest of my foot is off the block. And to get my heel down onto that block, what I need to do is actually end up tilting that block off the ground a little bit. If you find that this yoga block is maybe a little bit too much of an angle for your ankle, you could take a pillow, and I'm just going to use one right here, fold up a pillow and do the same thing. Something that is a little bit more firm so that you can just have the foot at an angle that's appropriate. You've got your foot on the block, you've got your heel on the ground, and now bring your attention up to your pelvis and try to feel like your pelvis is shifted back over your heels. Once you have your pelvis shifted back over your heels, look at your other foot, the foot that's not on a block, and try to have it about pelvis width apart. Okay, so now that we have that set up, pelvis over top of the heels, I'm going to keep my pelvis over top of my heels and then start to move my other foot a little bit more forward. I keep my hips back, but the other foot shifts forward, and this will start to bring more of that nice, really open stretch feeling into the back of your ankle. And then subsequently the calves. So we breathe here, and we're going to add another little piece to this. Remember, I'm going through this kind of fast because you'll watch, you'll learn, and then you'll do it on your own. All right, so now the next variation of this is keeping your pelvis back over your heel. Try to keep that straight line, and then you're going to bend your knee. You can bend both knees, but specifically bending that knee of the foot that's on the block. So this will get into a new area of your calf muscles. And then you'd hold these 2 stretches for a minute or a little bit more, depending on what feels good for you. You come out of it, and then even just what I love to do is pausing from side to side. So before I go onto the other foot, it's really nice to take a moment and get a sense, well, how does this one leg feel compared to the other? Already, even in that few moments that I was doing this, I feel a big difference on this side. So you would repeat to the other side. Now let's go into our next variation. Now our third movement that's going to help our ankle mobility, after we had stretched mobilized the bottom of our foot with the ball, after we mobilized our calf and ankles with the calf stretch, now we're going to add some dynamic movement for the ankles. So let's get into it. What you need to do is, so I've here got a table. The table helps. You can do this right against a wall, anything, a chair, the side of a couch, anything that you can press your knee in towards. Because we're going to go and we're going to take that one foot forward and place it close-ish to whatever thing you have in front of you. And what we're going to do is just very mindfully place your foot down. So you feel like that front foot is right down on the ground, the heel connected, and keep feeling especially that your heel is connected, all sides of your feet down on the ground, and you're going to slowly travel your knee forward. And there may be a point pretty quick, depending on your body, that as your knee comes forward, your heel's going to want to lift off. So when you get to that point where your heel wants to lift off, don't go that far. Go just before your knee wants to lift, and then hold, and then slowly come back out. Now you'll do this a few times back and forth, right? So you try to move your knee towards your object that's in front of you, coming back. Now, if you moved too close, then you can move yourself back a little bit so you have more room. But it's also what's going to be really helpful with this, because a lot of us will have a tendency to pronate or supinate, which would be rolling in or out of the ankle while we do this. So staying mindful about keeping the center of your heel connected on the ground, keeping the center of the heel connected onto the ground, feeling the big toe metatarsal and the pinky toe metatarsal, so the two sides, edges of your feet connected down. This will give you a feeling of your inner arch of the foot lifting up. Maintain that work of the foot, and then allow your knee to travel forward and then back. Right? So this is all that movement is anchoring your foot down and then letting the knee come forward over the toes, increasing that mobility bit by bit. So you would of course do that a number of times and then come back to it with your other leg, repeating. If you try to do all three of these activities, these three exercises, once a day, a couple times a week, it's going to make a big difference on the overall improvement and health of your ankle, your calves, your feet. And if your ankles, calves, and feet are mobile and good, guess what? The rest of your body will be as well, because it's all connected. So remember, if you love these tutorials, you press that subscribe button. You can also find full-length classes in our Heart and Bones Yoga studio at heartandbonesyoga.com. Check those out. Lots of mobility work in them. Lots of this really great functional, sustainable approach to yoga. So thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next video.